So the segue that I want to go into with this, I mean, I can land the plane there, and I probably will separate it out on the teaching, but I really wanted to connect it to this verse in Colossians. I don't even think I spelled that right. Doesn't matter. And he, the head of the body, for the church, for he is the beginning, the first fruits of the resurrection from the dead, that in all things he might be the first. So in taking in consideration everything that we have shared in the first, 5 verses of the wise and foolish virgins, and we've been talking about life over death, this came to my mind today, and I thought, I think I'm going to dig this scripture out. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. This is so amazing to see the very first word of this when it comes to what it was written based on what the root was. So the root was hey vav, and we've seen hey vav as being he, she, and it. It's just one of those words, he, she, and it, that it's revelation to connect to, because it's hey vav. And we see that right there. There's the root, hey vav. Let me go in. Oh, I don't think I have it there. I don't think I have. Hold on just a second here. Oh, here it is. Okay, perfect. So that is to say, the example included, that is to say, he, she, and it. Hey vav is the root of this word right here. And look what was added. So what we're seeing is we're having a vav on the prefix of mother, the vav that is already within the root, and the vav that is within the suffix. And vav is the number 6. And again, we have been taught incorrectly of what 666 is. We've been totally taught. We have been taught through the Church of Rome to fear that, and that's the mark of the number or of the beast. But we've already shared that Cayutha is connected to even Tanina, the dragon, and to the sea monster and the jackal that has to connect to Anubis, which is life over death. Cayutha means the living. It's from Kai, it's from life. So these are those that are life over death that have been marked with the 666, and 6 times 3 is 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. It means completion. So right here in the very first verse, it's saying the revelation of the completion. This revelation is going to come that you need to connect to, that is going to be giving you the power, means, and direction, as this door is going to open up this revelation so you can see where you're weak and feeble, so you can deliver yourself from it. And you are going to be marked and connected with the mother and with the father and their teachings, and you're going to connect to source that is within you. You are going to be marked as one who has been completed.
Yeah, and there's a hidden olive in there too, because the hay would be there with the olive. So that right there is power and authority, because the power in the yo and the olive would be the authority, but it's hidden. That's hidden authority.
Exactly. But yet, that will be revealed.
Right, but again, only through intimacy, because power is only given and authority is only given through the intimate work of becoming. And so you can't steward that which you don't know, right? So this is the measure of accountability. So that right in there, that's a pretty powerful word, to have power and authority through the measure of 6, and that nature would be completely turned upside right. So even though it's 666, it would still equate as a 999, which is justified right there in the math.
So 1 plus 8 equals 9, which is completion. So that's the very first word, is telling us the revelation of the completion will come if you connect to mother in humility, teachability, connect to the power of father, which is power under control, meekness, and connecting to source within you.
Yeah.
You will be given power.
Yeah.
That's what the vav is.
Yeah.
And that is only going to be given to those who give.
Yes.
Through the work and deed of their hand, not takers, but givers.
Yeah.
And then the next word, head, beginning, and chiefs. So this is, if anybody wants to know the definition of leadership, it's right here. The very first word tells you what the qualifying position, what it takes to become a leader. You first have to be humble and teachable. You need to be able to connect to your heart within, the place where creator is, source is dwelling, and you must be have the power of meekness. Those are going to be the leaders.
with those three laws too, we need to remember that that this is expansion of tent. This would be
Tent pegs.
tent pegs, right? But even Yeshua in his, on the tree,
Right hand,
left hand,
and his feet.
So there's three piercings right there. This is the three piercings that produce the headship. He was the cornerstone that showed the measurement, right? But yet there's still headship that needs to be capped, because this is what we're coming to the full measure here. So that is the representation of full expansion. He was as wide as he was tall. He was made in if we can see it from a higher perspective, he completed the completed of dying to self, and that's an expanded tent. He moved.
And then even connecting to that, again, the reason why they needed to get rid of him and take his physical life, because his message was so profound that even in his death, he left a message, right? That he had become sovereign over himself, and he had been telling everyone that would listen to him because they were drawn to his frequency, and he was telling them and sharing with them the process. In fact, I don't think he shared with them the process of being able to be raised up into a first fruit head leader, having the sovereignty over yourself now as a leader over your own body, no longer having the ego lead you, but now you have oneness lead you. Because again, I think it's interesting that this root is Resh Yod Shin. I know you can't see, it's really small, but the root of this is Resh Yod Shin. The Yod has been removed because it was put up here. The power was given to you. Now you are a leader who is walking in it because you have become one. You raised yourself up, you went through the fires of purification, and you became one, who was once poor and destitute. So again, this word is huge because it's talking about being the head. So either the head of place, time, rank, and then in Aramaic, it also means the sum. So summation of the total of your journey is right here. The poor and destitute that were raised up to be leaders because they went through fire. Sheen Aleph, this is the gematria for fire. Mm-hmm. So it burned away everything and left behind oneness.
Yep.
Burning up the ego into entering into the place of one. That's who the leaders are.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And this is the other word. This is the word that I was just like blown away to connect this with what we were just sharing with the bridegroom and the delaying and the tarrying, but the message is going to come. So this word, the body, the root of it is Pei Gimel Resh. That's the root of it. But with an aleph added on the backside, it talks about becoming a corpse. But when you look at this is so incredible to me. So it means to be backward. Meaning, like when you see, we're going to connect these two words here. That is just going to, it's really going to make a lot more sense when I connect this word down below. But this word by itself is to be backward, to lag behind. So connecting it to the previous verse of those who procrastinated and loitered around, to lag behind. It also means to be inactive, broke up, destroyed, and powerless. Was weak, was flaccid, was faint, and was tired. This is huge to me, that all of this is connected into this one word. And it also means to die, said of an animal. Destroyed, killed, died, body, corpse, carcass of an animal. Think of that as far as beast ego. And it also has two more definitions. A bit of a bridle and to take a holiday and a vacation.
Oh my God.
Because it means rest. So we're looking at a word that has duality within, and the resolve of what's happening here is literally in the word. And I'm just blown away with this because, like I said, I'm going to connect it to the next word, and this is going to make a whole lot of sense. But the door is coming. A door is a representation of a person that is bringing this revelation. They're going to open it up to you. And you're going to see that there's a weak and feeble position within you because you were lagging behind. You were inactive. You didn't realize that there was a work indeed that you had to do in order to, it made you powerless. You didn't have any power. You became weak and you were faint and tired because the door needed to come and present this to show you the place that you were weak and feeble, which is on the inside, going within. And the revelation was going to come that you're actually a walking corpse because of the animal beast ego nature that has raised itself up as a leader over you. The door is going to be the mouth that speaks to you that which is necessary for you to gather and to assemble, that is meant to lift you up, to wean you. Because Gimel also means, Ken reminded me the other day because I forgot part of this in here. It means to wean and to ripen. And look at this, Peresh. Peresh, the Gimel's on the inside, and Peresh means fruit. So the door is coming to present the revelation to you so that you can produce fruit by giving you what you need to gather, to assemble at the water, the living water, the teachings, because again, I think I shared this before, the morphing of Gimel, it originally was Gam, and it meant to gather and to assemble. And Mem is the living water teachings, but then over time, the Lamed was added onto the suffix, which means a teaching shepherd of light of Father. We're not talking mother here. We're now talking about instruction that comes directly from the Father. And that only comes because you've been weaned off the milk. You are in the place where you're becoming right, fully matured because of the Father's teachings and instruction that is going to bring forth fruit. And what is added on the end is the olive. So again, the whole fruit, those who are producing fruit are the ones that have become one. They are El, Pe. They are God, strong leader, teaching shepherds. Again, we need to reframe the way we look at the word God. Strong leader, teaching shepherds that have been given the mouth to speak with authority because they've become one and they eliminated their beast ego that separates them. And so those are the ones that can take a holiday and a vacation.
Yeah.
Because they've entered into the place of rest.
I was going to say that we have to remember that because the role has already been given to us to equate to a measure. And so something has been established. So again, add it or as it, because if we can see it, and Carrie just described like this is, we're presenting at it. She just presented with the potentiality of what's here. But there's also those that are in the earth right now that are going to be revealed as the revelation, because that's what this is telling. We got to remember that this is still, now we can look as it to see this is yet to be revealed. These are those that have procrastinated. They're playing as an act in a role until the greater is given to become this measure. And they are the doors that will speak in humility to show others how to raise to become the head as one, as they are one.
Right.
And so it still is a measure of presenting itself. But we need to remember that this is all speaking of what is yet to come.
And that's also, it's going to lead right into our next word. This is the word that is for church, assembly, and congregation. But if you really want to connect deeper of what they've translated in English for us to grasp a hold of church, assembly, and congregation, then we have to really take a look at the word, because this blew me away. This totally blew me away when I saw this. The first two letters of this word. Okay, well, let me show you the root. The root is Ein Dalet Tav Aleph. So again, the door has been added in front. So again, the door is going to open up this revelation to you of what? Well, of what the church and assembly and congregation should really be. And the first two letters that I'm looking at here is also a word that means a witness and a testimony that has been adorned and bedecked with perpetuity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we have added to that word the Tav Aleph. those that are marked with the frequency of the Father, a sine wave signature frequency wave change, which is the fingerprint and signature of becoming one. That right there is supposed to be the church. And so what we look at it as a assembly place, a hall that we congregate together, is a gathering of those who are a witness and a testimony that have and become a door of revelation for other people that are marked with a different frequency because they found oneness. This is actually those who have found the Mashiach anointing.
In the door of time.
Well, and that was the other thing I was going to show you. Good thing you got that. Aleph or Ein Tav. I have to go back to my other screen because it's not going to let me do it. Ein Tav is the word for time, et. And right in the middle of time is the door. And when you look at this, we have one door that gives you the ability to see the other door in time. So this is a representation of Mother, the door opening up the revelation of Mother's teaching to you. And then it will show you, give you the ability to see, to tap within the fountain that is within you, what to do with your fallen flesh nature so that the door can be opened up to you for Father's teaching. And this will mark you, if you apply it and do something with it, to mark you with his frequency of oneness. The other part, and I know we're going to go a little long, Regina, I don't know if that's okay. I'm going to try to run through this as quick as I can. Yeah. But the first two letters on here, this is also many times, this is the root or the word meaning to know intimately. So we were talking about the wise and foolish virgins, and we were talking about the bridegroom and the bride and the process of becoming betrothed to then becoming queen. Queen is the place where you enter in to intimacy. This would be what people would know as gnosis in Greek, but this is the root for da'at. Here is da'at that has the door that has been on the inside. So to intimately know Da'at, the Father's teaching in his covenant of love, means you need to go through the door of the inward man. The Dalet, this revelation needs to be opened up to you on the inside. This is the only way that this is going to become intimate knowledge for you. Gnosis, knowing. Another word would be an epiphany, where something happens to you and you are suddenly changed and transformed because you have intimate knowledge of becoming one.
Yes, absolutely. It could be. That's also, I don't want to go too long here, but you can look at that same word. If you lay it down, that's also the tabernacle in the wilderness. That entering into this door shows you the knowing of how to enter into the holy door of Mother allows you to have the knowing of how to enter into the Holy of Holies so you may enter into the love of one.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I totally concur with that. Now, to connect it, why I wanted to connect those two words together, and I said that I was going to connect this one here with this one here, is that our churches that are out there and congregations and assemblies that do not teach, because here's another part of the word that I didn't share. This means to see. This is Ra, or Roha. This is the word meaning to see. So if a church or an assembly is not being the door of revelation to bring this to those who are tired and who are faint and who are weak, the ones that have been lagging behind and are backward, if they are not revealing the fruit of how to do it in becoming one, then they are powerless. This is a church that doesn't have any power. And the church is weak because they are meant to be a witness and a testimony of this process.
Yep.
So this is huge to see this, that the church is powerless without teaching these principles of becoming one. And the reason why I wanted to say that is because we are coming to the place in the future where the things that are not sustainable are going to not be, because
Yeah.
the lesser has to give way to the greater, and the greater teaching is coming by those who are speaking this oneness principle that is very difficult for people to grasp a hold of if they're holding to the older paradigm of what the Church of Rome presented, because they wanted to keep people in the weak and feeble position. They didn't want to give them the true power that they needed. They wanted to keep them in a place where they could be subjugated. And this message is coming through the leaders that are going to be presenting this to the congregations that have been powerless, so that they can become a congregation and a gathering of those who have been weaned and are actually producing fruit of the Spirit through the Spirit, because olive also represents the Spirit. It's the breath in of being able to breathe, breathing ones through the Spirit that are the witness of testimony that found it within time, the intimate knowledge that is being presented that we are all one.
I just want to finish
Okay.
with this, that with the church and the assembly and the congregation, it's good to remember too, that even though it's a corporate body, that it's still speaking of individuality. The church,
Well, it's personal responsibility, right?
it's knowing that even though this speaks corporately, that yes, it really puts accountability. That measure right there of church, assembly, congregation is seen as still as one individual at a time that corporately comes together, that establishes, right? This is the revelation of the kingdom.
Well, this is why they're the witnesses,
right,
that have a testimony.
I just wanted to make sure that people know that this is individual.
Yeah.
This is an individual word, that a sovereign is a sovereign, and when many sovereigns gather, it becomes a nation.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So in the next word, what we see when it says is and are, the root of it is Aleph Yod Tav. And Aleph Yod Tav, this is the Aramaic form of Aleph Tav that we see in Hebrew. And the difference being is that the Aleph Tav, which is a summation, remember the word I was showing you before about this, what summation was in the previous verse. This is a summation of the Aleph through the Tav, the strong leaders of the covenant that have been marked. And now they have a Yod in the inside, which means they have been power. They have power on the inside through the journey, the Aleph through the Tav, hence why they are the strong leaders of the covenant. And it comes from the root word yish, which means a being of substance, to be, to exist, and have substance. So it's one thing to have the Aleph Tav, and that's great. But if you don't have the power of the vision being placed within you, you're not going to have any substance to you. It's like the static form of the words. If you've never even connected to source and you're not doing it through the Spirit, you're not going to be a being of substance. And so the door has to come to present it, because the dalet is added. And then we have Vav He Yod. And I find this really fascinating, and I'm not going to belabor this too much, but this is the suffix that is actually added to the word disciple. Talmudihu is how you say it in Aramaic, and it's lamed, teaching and instruction. It already has a tav on the front, which means the disciples had mother's mark. That is why they followed Yeshua, because they were already safe to be around. They were safe with Yeshua. Yeshua was safe with them because they already had the golden rule. And then lamed, instructing. And what were they being instructed? How to connect to the Father's teaching that would give them power. That's what this is saying right here. This is the door to the Father's power if we connect to it. But we have to be willing to have the vision placed within us through the sacred writings, through the language of love and light, in order for it to happen, to raise us up to be heads, leaders, firstfruits. And again, this is the place of neutrality, 0 point, where you are and you know that you are ahead as a sovereign. You're not doing the duality. You're not, going to the right or doing the left. You are straight in the middle in 0 point as creator in potential. And this really is the head of fire.
Yeah, this word here is also the mark of revelation's power. So this is the door. This would be the same as Yeshua. This is one that has become the power and is marked as the revelational power.
Yeah, exactly. The Tav. Yeah, Tav-Vav, exactly. So Tav-Vav, just to connect with what Ken just said, so that we can see it. Tav-Vav is literally the word for mark that we see in Ezekiel, I believe, chapter 9, where they're marked on their foreheads.
It's a strong word because that's is.
Mm-hmm.
This is. This, if you want to know what is, this is the door that is one that it has the power and it is marked with the revelational power. That is the revelation of the Christ anointing. It is.
It is. Yeah. So again, we're talking about being sovereigns, having the head of fire, because again, Sheen Aleph means fire, heads of fire. So connect this to the seraphim message, the seraphic message to raise us up from our poor and destitute position to be first fruit leaders. And then we have firstborn. We have the word, the firstborn. And firstborn, so to connect to this, which is funny because that's what the Vav is all about, is connecting to it. This is the only way to connect to the firstborn, because the firstborn was always given the double portion of the inheritance for continuity for family. They were taking the headship that would help lead the family. And so they had to have the double portion given to them. The only way that is given is first you have to connect to mother, and you have to be teachable and humble. The second thing is you have to be able to connect to this within. Your heart must be pierced in order for you to receive the firstborn blessing. And the root is bet, where am I? Bet, kaf resh, bekur. So, just throwing this out here because we've got the Aleph too. This is the firstborn. This is the one that is talking about where it said Yeshua was the first from the dead, from among the dead into the living. Mm-hmm. Anyone that gets into the oneness concept of really having the intimate knowledge of oneness is now a firstborn from the dead. And that's why I wanted to connect it to the previous verse, because we were talking about life over death. This is where we are living. We found life, and we found it abundantly as the firstborn. This is also the second feast day in the book of the covenant, which is when they would publicly declare and do their mikvah as the firstfruits. Bekur. It's called Bekurim, the feast of the firstfruits, right here.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's those who have built love on the inside. You know, they've connected to their heart. They yoked and tamed themselves, grasping a hold of the power given to raise them up to be a first fruit leader and entering into the place of oneness.
Feel clarity.
And when you move on to the next word, mean memnoon, this is the root word for manna, their daily manna. And then we have the word blood. So we have dam. We have dam. And we've shared before that light is, or blood is congealed light, and the manna is affecting us by affecting that which was once as a fallen flesh issue. So now that we can be a part of, because it literally means to be a part of, like a stringed instrument, a chord that is being played. So there's a frequency that's involved with this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, look at this. This is so amazing because you're never going to see this. I can't believe that they didn't translate this. This is the word these two words means the house of the dead. Literally, it means the house of the dead. I am not joking. This is, I'm like, what?
It's actually, it's an oxymoron because it's actually the living, but.
I know.
Wow.
There it is. House, abode, and dead. The house of the dead.
Yeah.
And they didn't translate it as the house of the dead at all. But it's very interesting to know that this same word in Aramaic also means discernment.
So they didn't translate it at all.
No, they didn't put house at all.
Yeah.
And they could have said discernment, because this Aramaic word also means to discern.
Mm-hmm.
So the house of discernment, those that know the life and death, the house of the dead, the firstborn from the house of the dead.
Yeah, this is
and
house
is an idiom. It's a Hebrew idiom for temple. So our temple as our body, the firstborn from the house of the dead. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And the root is mem tav. And when you look at this in the writing, it's mem yod tav aleph. So the dead, so this is a house of the dead. And the reason why they're the firstborn is they were given the power on the inside.
Yeah, what speaks
through the discernment.
Yeah, they entered into mother's love. That's the house of the dead.
Yes, they entered into mother's love. And in the process of dying to self, they became one.
Yep. That's how
and you have to have this is discernment of knowing what is and what is not, what is life and what is death and what is the purpose.
It's a very hard thing to explain life over death. Again, when we have the narrative of death is to be buried in the ground, but this allows you to have power over death.
Exactly. And then and we're almost done. We've got 3 words left, but the root here is who, and it means, so I can show it to you, because I always like to show, it means to be, was, and turn. Now, this is the root that is connected to Haya, which is part of the tetragrammaton of Yod He Vav He, of the teachings of mother and father, but this is now the spirit breath. This is the exhale connected to the inhale. This is connecting to the spirit, the revelation that we are connected as one. And this is talking about turning. So when we were talking about shuv or teshuvah, to turn, these are those who have turned. And here we have the word for judge again, the door to life. The door to life is through the spirit breath to the revelation that we are connected as one. And this also means to breathe, which of course it would, because it has the hay and the aleph. It means to breathe, and it also means desire. So the door of life is meant to be a thing to desire, the living breath that is going to reveal to you that we are all connected to one. Turn and see, behold this revelation and connect to it.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's huge.
Revelation is simply the revealing of those that have rightly self-adjudicated self.
Exactly.
That's judgment, is in the end, that time when it closes, because these are those that found the door in time, that who are these that self-adjudicated while in time?
Exactly. Because they're the ones that found the intimacy in the knowing.
They found it through the merciful, through merciful adjudication. They have judged self correctly, and now they stand over death as life.
So amazing. Last 2 words, kadam. So this is where they're saying preeminent, and it means to be first or forehand, but this is the same word that means of antiquity, of ancient times. So the message of antiquity that is meant to bring you power, that is given to you through the Father, because this is on the yod is added to the suffix side, is so that you can compress light within you in the circle of time. By finding the narrow path between the light and the dark, by that which once was hidden, now revealed to you, so you can compress light within the blood.
That's the power,
which gives you the power of the blood.
Yep.
This is truly the power in the blood. It has nothing to do with Yeshua shedding his blood for us on the cross. It has everything to do with this here.
That is no longer congealed light. That is revealed light. That is now compressed light, that are compressed in light, releasing the true measure of blood for what it is, which is simply held in time. We're compressed, and now these are revealed in time. So this is light.
Last word here, the word all. The bride, the crowned, who have compressed light within their blood that is now within them.
Built light.
They've built themselves. This means within, and it means within all. So light is within the blood that just needs to be power given to it, because it's within all. It's meant that everyone would know that they are the bride and that they can grasp a hold of the instructions. And here's the last thing I'm going to add to this that I think is beautiful. Bet Lamed means heart that has been in the reversed order. Remember, we were looking at the word that meant to be backwards? Well, this Bet Lamed is in the wrong order. It's supposed to be Lamed Bet, but the Bet Lamed is in front. And this means a heart who is anxious, fearful, and has terror. This is meant to give you power if you grasp a hold and allow yourself to be tamed and bent towards the teachings through the mouth that brings revelation, to take the anxious and fearful heart to then make it whole and completed, so that on the inside you now have power that came through the instruction to make you whole as the bride, becoming the queen as one who has received their crown. Oh my gosh, that's so fantastic.
Beautiful.
And so I really wanted to bring this in. I know it's a lot, and I like I say, and Ken doesn't really like me saying it too much, but I just gave you, I think, between 2 and 4 cows. That was a lot of meat. But the good thing is you can listen to these a couple times to extract out what you need to. But it is connected to the verse that we were looking at. It's like Spirit said, you got to connect this verse to the portion about the sleeping and the slumber of what is really happening to those who are tarrying, who or who have procrastinated and loitered and feel like they're behind. This revelation is coming to all. So just because you may think you are behind, you're not.
There's no behind in a circle.
You're like, yeah, there is no behind in the circle.
We are making a bracelet or a chain necklace that will be worn by all Father. And there is no beginning, there is no end. There's simply clasp upon clasp upon clasp. And when it's all put together, we won't know other than we're simply holding each other in a circle.
Holding the hands, grasping the cough, grasping the hand of one another.
Everyone is done. Everyone shows up. The family is the family.
We become one.
And it's one just amazing circle of completion. And that's going to be a time to rejoice.
And I always see that as a daisy chain for whatever reason.
That's what
it's
I
like
meant,
the daisy chain that is coming together in the circle of one. In finding that place of intimacy in time, because they found the door to this revelation within them that revealed that we were all one.
Yep.
That's the power.
Cool. Good verse.